Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming again on Tuesday morning here in California. It's a beautiful day, kind of hot, but we've had absolutely gorgeous weather lately. We just finished a boot camp Friday, Saturday, Sunday in San Francisco. It was a delight. We would consider very successful. About 42 people in attendance, and I think everybody went home very happy that they were there. I know I was happy I was there. We had a great time, and a lot of information, a lot of networking change went on. So appreciate all those people that were there. And to that end, I'd like to just tell you that in October we'll have our next seminar that will be in Boston. October 2nd through 4th in Boston. If you have not been to New England in the fall, this would give you a great opportunity to not only attend what we think would be the best educational opportunity that you'll have in the note business. We sell absolutely nothing. We're not looking to sign anybody up on a coaching program. It's 100% educational, and we did have some notes there that we sold. However, those were very well receptive, and I think we sold out all of our inventory at the boot camp. But that's not the intent. The intent of the boot camp is to train you on exactly how we do business, show you all of our tools, and one of those tools we're fortunate enough to have on today. Mike Wileman, the president and CEO of Orion Financial Group Incorporated. Orion Financial Group Incorporated. Mike is in South Lake, and South Lake has become North Lake, Central Lake. There are all kinds of lakes now in Texas due to their amount of rain, and here we are in a drought, and Texas is getting all of it. But we are very fortunate to have Mike on the phone today, or on the webcast today, and Mike is going to go over what his company does for the private investor. And I think that you're going to learn so much about some of the things that Mike can help you out with that can just be nightmares if you don't know what you're doing. So, Mike, thank you very much for joining us today, and could you just kind of introduce yourself and your company and let people know what you do?
Absolutely. Thank you, Ron. Thank you for having me and let me be a part of your webinar. Orion Financial Group, we've been around since 1993, so a little over 22 years, and we've always been a partner of the mortgage industry / servicing industry. We started off probably more with the what I'll call the big boys, companies that were buying or selling, thousands and thousands of loans a month, and then we would also work with them if they serviced their own loans in order to do lien releases, and we would retrieve documents and so forth. And one of the things that we learned as the industry kind of changed, probably late 2007, early 2008, and it went into the deep freeze for some time, and the secondary market kind of went away. And as it came back, there were so many new investors, what we would kind of label as more the small to medium-sized investor of loans or non-performing loans, is it was a very underserved market, and probably a lot of new investors that really hadn't been in that arena before. And so we really started honing in on that market, and one of the things we did about a year and a half, 2 years ago, was to develop an additional proprietary software that does collateral file reviews and even the storage of the original documents or the collateral files. Because we realized that in that investment group, there's a few things that has to happen that, unless you have the experience or the know-how, it's very difficult to learn. One of them, of course, is to make sure you understand what's in the collateral file, and that's where, with our proprietary system, we can take that collateral file and review it and immediately issue a missing documents report. It might be the missing recorded mortgage. It might be assignments, documents that should be in that file that are not. And so from that point, we can either go out and retrieve that information from the counties and get copies of those documents, or many times what we do is we end up having to go to previous owners of those loans. And you may have seen this where, typically someone will buy a loan. They may be the second, third, fourth, fifth owner of that mortgage or deed of trust. And assignments that should have transferred the ownership from one owner to the next were never done. And one of the things that we've done over the years is develop a heck of a database that allows us to make contact with those previous owners in order to get those documents executed and help create a complete chain of title on record. And it's very, very important that that happens because there's a few things. One, if you don't have those documents on record in your name as an investor, you'll never receive adverse notices from other lien holders or people that might have an interest in that property. So if it's a first mortgage that's either trying to make demand on their lien, or if it's the local taxing authority that is making demand because taxes haven't been paid, and if you're not on record, you won't get notified about that. The other thing is, if excuse me, when the if you are excuse me, if you are in the I guess the type of business to sell at some point down the road versus a buy and hold, you're going to buy and turn around and sell it. In order to sell it, you want to have it in your name so there's no delays in being able to sell that loan, or in the event there could be a potential buyback because it's not in the proper entity's name, and that the new buyer can't do with it what they want to do. So it just kind of helps make that next strategy that much easier to execute. And then, of course, the last part of it is I call it just really customer service. If the borrower happens to pay your note, whether it's through term or maybe they refinance and pay off your note, as the holder of that or as the investor, it's going to be your responsibility to release the lien on that property. And again, unless that mortgage is in your name as the owner of it, you wouldn't be able to release it. And that's kind of the next part of where Orion can add value to the whole process, because if you happen to be buying loans that are spread around the country, there's over 3,600 recording offices in the country. And although there's similarities within states, but even that, the counties have their own ability to have their format requirements, their information requirements, and the fees for what they charge to record a document. And it can be very onerous to try and manage that. And that's why we built our proprietary software we call DocPro, because it has all that information. It's county-specific information. So, it allows us to manage nationwide with what the requirements are. Plus, it allows us, when we're doing assignments for buyers or sellers, we are able to create a valid, reportable document immediately and virtually eliminate any reasons for that document being rejected or not being recorded. So we can provide a valuable service there in expediting the whole process of getting that loan into your name and kind of protect your investment.
I could interject a bit of personal experience in that regard, because early on we did attempt to record notes that we got, especially seller finance notes where the seller was doing the servicing and holding the documents. And I can remember the clearest one was Las Vegas, Clark County. And Mike, I don't know how many different counties there are that require specific type of margins and so on, but I remember Clark County sending us the recording back because the margins were not the what I think it was like maybe they require 1.25 inches, and you know, we just did it in the document as it came out of the word processor. So I know how that can be. What kind of timing do you see for recording? And the reason I ask is that if it takes them a while to record it and then it's wrong and they send it back to you, you got all of this delay before you can even do anything with the note. And what kind of time delays are you seeing if people are trying to do it themselves?
Yeah, that's a great question, because you know, the other part to those requirements is not even just margin, but the font size of, you know, the type within that document too is also a requirement. But nowadays we see that time frame kind of all over the page, and what I mean by that, if Orion is able to execute the documents, you know, on behalf of our client, then we're able to electronically record those documents in the counties that do electronic recording. And right now there's probably, I'm going to say roughly there's 900 counties out of the 3,600 plus counties that do record documents electronically. And so, you know, then documents would be recorded probably within a 24-hour period on average. But even better is if something's wrong with that document, whether it's a recording reference of a mortgage, whatever, we also know that it's incorrect within a 24-hour period. Whereas counties where you have to mail the document, it could take some counties 3 months to record a document. I know in the Northeast that historically they've had a much longer turnaround time of recording documents. And to your point, Ron, unfortunately, if something's wrong with that document, it could be 3 or 4 months before you know that it's incorrect. So again, having someone like Orion, where we've developed our own software, and what we have built within that software is, I call it delinquency measures on the counties, but we basically know how long it takes them to record a document that we send them, and then how long it takes them to return it to us. So if a document's not returned to us within, and we can plug in any range, but normally within 30 days of their normal turnaround time, then we've got a group of folks that does county follow-up that will find out where that document is. And many times that document is recorded, it was just returned somewhere else. And so in that case, then we can go out and at least get a copy of that recorded document that has the recording information and you know, proof that the document has been recorded and the owner of that mortgage or deed has been changed at the public records.
Great. So, okay, so let's say now a file comes in. If you could just take us through maybe the process. I buy a note. Maybe I'm fortunate enough that the note I buy is already with Orion, but let's say that it's not. Well, let's say that, let's go for both ways. One, the note that I buy is already at Orion, and it's now just going to be an electronic paperwork transfer because I want to keep it with Orion. Or I'm buying a note, let's say from a seller finance note in my local market, and I actually get the file. Can, first of all, kind of explain to the listeners how big some of those files can be, and then what would be the process of getting the file to you, and then what would you do with it?
Okay, so let's assume it's from an outside source, that we do not have the file, and we've never had the file. You know, by definition, the collateral file should only contain the most important legal documents. So that would be the recorded mortgage or deed of trust, the note, any allonges. If you know, it's been sold multiple times and there's not a note endorsement on the actual note, then there should be allonges in there transferring the note, and any other assignments, and a title policy. And then sometimes you might have, there's a loan modification that might be in there. But a lot of times what we find is we call it's a hybrid file, because it's actually the collateral documents and the servicing documents, which is the application, you know, the credit bureau, and all that. What we would normally do is would have those. We would suggest that those files are sent to us, in a trackable method, UPS, FedEx. That ahead of time that we get a spreadsheet knowing what files should be coming in, so we can use that to check it off and let you know if we've never even received the file. But once we receive the file, then we set up the profile within I3, which is our collateral review system, and we put in there what documents should be in there, and our folks go through and they identify those documents, and we scan them. So the collateral file documents, at least, you would be able to go in through our website with you have a unique username and password, and you can go in and you can review all of the individual documents for your borrowers, for your notes. So then when we go through that review, if there are documents that are missing, then we would immediately issue a missing documents report. If it's things like an assignment, we can determine based on where that break and chain appears to be what you might need. But what I suggest is that you, along with our review, you would also retrieve, or we would do this for you, but retrieve the documents from the county where that original mortgage was recorded. Because many times the documents might not be in the file, but that doesn't mean they're not recorded. So that allows us to do a really good scrub of that file to determine what's on the county records and what's in the file. So if it's just a matter of things are on the county records, but they're not in the file, now we've retrieved a copy of it. You can have a complete set of documents in your file. If the county record shows that there's missing assignments, then we know where to pinpoint our efforts to try and get that missing assignment executed for you from the company that owned it that never did the assignment, get that recorded, and then get your kind of title chain cleaned up that way. And then the other, really important part of this, especially if you're fairly new to the process, or if maybe you've been doing this for a while, but now your portfolio's getting larger and larger, is to have those collateral documents in a secure method. So we have our doc custody room. It's a secure room. We have fireproof files in there. There's only certain people that work in the doc custody room that are able to get in there, through an electronic key fob. So it's a very protected area. And then what we would do is we go through that file and setting up your profile is you would identify to us who is able to obtain documents or files from us. So it might be Ron's company, if that's who you would give authority to. It might be an attorney if for some reason the account goes to foreclosure or demand has to be sent. But we would put those contacts within the system, so only those people can request documents or files. And then once we have those in there, if any of those individuals request documents or files, then they're released with what's called a Bailey letter. So you their file has gone to and whose control it's under. And that way it just provides a good tracking of your file, your investment, and it allows us to maintain some integrity in the whole process.
So one of the questions that I would have then, Mike, for something that you just said, let's say that the servicing company of my notes had all of the documents are with you, the paper documents. If somebody needed to see that file, I could give them permission, and they could see it by loan, not necessarily the whole portfolio, but they could go in and look at a file that was, let's say I'm the servicer and John Doe is the investor. John Doe can go in and look at the file if he has a password to get to that particular loan document.
That's correct. He could look at the collateral file, because and you bring up a good point. When we see these kind of all-in files or these hybrid files that really has all the servicing documents as well as the collateral files. What we recommend doing is creating a collateral file. So we would, and it's literally, you know, a manila folder. We would create that file, put all of the important legal docs that make up a collateral file, store those, and then return the rest of the file to the servicer, because it's, you know, it's called a servicing file for a reason, right? When they're talking with a borrower, when they're trying to resolve issues, that kind of information they should have at their fingertips or pretty close by when you're looking at prior applications, credit bureaus, you know, income verification, things like that. They should really have that, and we should only have the collateral file.
And that's a good point, because one of the really strong efforts that we make when we're trying to work out a note is to see if there's any servicer notes that we can get our hands on, because it helps us know what went on prior to us getting the note, and and that information is quite helpful, because you know whether the borrower was cooperative or not, and just what did that prior asset manager promise, because the borrower may may not be 100% truthful on what was promised before. So we like to see those notes, but they don't necessarily need to be part of the collateral file. So you know, the things that you took us through there, from receiving the package through going and looking to make sure that everything is in the file, to if something is missing, to know where to go get it, and then to actually bring it into the collateral file, just sounds like if you don't have the knowledge of all of these 3,600 counties, or the 900 that you record electronically, that it could just be an absolute nightmare to try to find this stuff. Would that be a...
Well, and there's no question, because it's just knowing, from the standpoint of being able to record a document, knowing all the requirements that a county might have, and even the fees to record a document. You know, the recording fees within a county, they're promulgated by the state. But anytime that there's a change in that fee, let's say the state says, okay, you know, recording offices, we're going to increase the fee to record a document by $2. But what they might do, though, is they give the counties an 18-month window to implement it. So you could have, like here in Texas, you know, we could have Dallas County, who raised their $2 fee this month, and Tarrant County, who's right next door, they might take 8 months to increase it. So you can't just look at, you know, it's, you know, X amount in that state to record it, because if you don't have the proper fees in there, 9 times out of 10, the county's going to reject it, kick it back to you, and say the fees are incorrect.
Yeah, they don't. They don't call you and say, we're going to go ahead and record this, just send in the amount that is due over what you paid whenever you get a chance.
No, unfortunately, they don't have that level of faith. Right?
Yeah, that's right. And if it takes them 3 months, it's 3 months before you even know that you paid the wrong amount, and then another 3 months before it ever gets recorded again. So you're between a rock and a hard place there. That's we learned that real early, that we didn't want to deal with county recording. So you have some kind of ideas for people that may not have done any recording. You say $2 in Dallas County. Nationwide, what do you see the range for recording to be?
For the fees to actually record a document?
Yeah, fees actual record a document.
Yeah, it's actually more than $2. I was saying if they increased it by $2.
Okay, right. Yeah.
What we see on average, working all across the country, the recording fees are about $25 to record an assignment or a lien release document. Now that might mean it's you know, it might be $6 or $8 in Mississippi, but it's, you know, it's $150 in Philadelphia, you know, or 125 up in the Northeast. So it's, in some areas it's very, very expensive to just record a one-page document, and in other areas it's quite inexpensive. expensive, but on average we say it's about $25.
Okay. So now the process is I get this package, the loan package. I send it to you FedEx so that I can track its arrival at your place. You go through all of this. We now work out the note. There's starting to be a payment on it, and 6 months from now, I sell the note to another investor. What kind of a process do we go through at that point, if that person wants the file?
If they want the file, so what we would recommend, as important as it is to get it into your name too, we also think it's kind of important to control taking it out of your name and getting it into the new buyer's name. So assuming we've got everything completed up to your ownership, then it's just a matter of you could send us an email or a spreadsheet that says, okay, this borrower account number, we need to have an assignment done to, and you tell us who the new buyer is and some pertinent information like their address, and we can just go right into our system because we've got the information here and generate that assignment and either send that for recording if the sale's already taken place, or we just wait till you provide confirmation the sale's taken place and we send it for recording, and then we package up the file and either send it to the new buyer, or if it happens to be the buyer is also a client of ours, then we will just change the information. We will set that same file up under the new buyer, and then the seller, it will be identified in our system as the file's been checked out and finalized, so it's no longer under the investor that it was. It's gone. So it's very, very convenient, very slick, especially if it's the buyer and seller both happen to be clients with us. But even if the new buyer is not a client of ours, we have everything here. We can take care of that, facilitate it very quickly, and then just as long as we know who should receive the new file, then we can send that file on to that new buyer with in a trackable form, so we know that it got there and who received it.
All right, that's wonderful, because just the paperwork involved in this business is overwhelming. Now, also a major obstacle is the storage of these files for various reasons. One, just the amount of paper that you end up getting if you have a number of files. The second thing is that if anything were to happen to those files, so I know that what you do is on the file you send an electronic file to the investor so that they have an electronic file. Then you store the paper. So tell me a little bit about your storage and how much you would charge to store files and that sort of thing.
Okay. So when we have what we call the file intake fee, and that's when we review the file and then we image it and get it set up where you can view the collateral file online. That is a $20 intake fee per file. To actually store the hard copy of the file in our fire-proof files, it's 25 cents per file per month. So it's really very minimal. And then what we do, if a file has been checked out, let's say it's been sold to another investor, you can actually retain visibility of that online if needed, and it's only 10 cents a month per file to be able to view it electronically. And then at some point in time, when you decide you don't need it anymore, then we just turn it off or put it as completely checked out, and then there's no more charge, and there's no more visibility, of course, of that collateral file.
All right, so you can store a lot of files before you are into the $3,500 to $4,000 fireproof filing cabinet range.
Yes, excellent point.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's great. Is there anything else that the people on this webinar should know about Orion, or about how to contact you, how to get the information from your company to them, that if they wanted to get you involved, and we recommend that nobody try to do this kind of stuff themselves. It's the cost is so marginal, it's not worth the frustration of trying to do not only the file storage and looking to see what's not in the file and then going out and trying to search for it. Those things are so esoteric that a new note investor should be spending their time doing something else. If they had files that they want to transfer to you, if they want to learn more about Orion, if they have something that let's say they have an allonge they can't find, how do they go about getting involved with Orion?
Well, I think the first best step is to just contact me. You can either contact me directly by phone, and would you like for me to give my number now, or is that something you might do at a later time, Ron?
It's on the screen right now, Mike.
Okay.
But go ahead and give it, and also I have your email address up there, and on the screen is your name, and then Deanne's name, then Chuck Hall and Connie Rigsby. So, but you're saying first of all, just contact you.
Yeah, I think that's the first best step, because I realize that when it's fairly new to someone, there's going to be additional questions on things that maybe we didn't cover on the webinar today, or maybe need clarification. And I'd much rather do that for them. And sometimes it might just be a little direction, and they're off to the races. But if we're able to help them as a client and set up an arrangement, I'd like to do that, and then can introduce them to Connie and maybe Chuck. Because one of the things that we do here is that we have team leads that report to Connie, and so each of our clients has a specific team that handles their account. So if there's questions going forward or anything, they can contact that team lead or Connie. Of course, I'm always available, and so is Chuck. You have multiple levels to get some answers, but being able to contact that person that's in charge and responsible for your account is also important. So it's we'll introduce you to those folks at the right time. But I would much rather get the ball rolling and make sure that all questions are answered. And I just think that I would like to say after 22 years, we've got an excellent reputation in the industry, and that's just not my feeling. That's feedback from clients some of our clients are some of the top 5 servicers in the industry, and then many of our clients are either attorneys or even bankruptcy attorneys, where we help them do intervening assignments, and then also a lot of investors, medium-sized investors, and even some of the larger investors, hedge funds on Wall Street. So I look forward to it. I hope I can answer some questions. Hope I can be of some service to your folks. But you can call me directly at 817-424-1038, or email me at mew@orionfgi.com. Great. And Mike, I can vouch for your reputation. I've never heard anybody say a bad word about you. The way that you responded to allowing us to interview you today is an indication of the professionalism that your company has. I would recommend to anybody on the webinar that you check out Orion. The cost of this is almost prohibitive of you doing it yourself. It just takes out so much of the frustration of this business when you're not dealing with the paper, when you're not dealing with the counties, and when you're not going through a file finding something that's missing and not knowing how to go about retrieving one or getting a new one done. So, Mike, thank you very, very much. We will direct people to Orion, and I hope you guys dry out. Thank you very much for having me, and profitable investing to everyone on the phone.
All right, thank you. Well, everybody, I'd like to thank you for coming and remind you to go to notemogul.com and check out the Boston seminar that we'll be doing between October 2nd and 4th. Again, go to our website, www.notemogul.com, and you'll be able to see some of the testimonials of the people who've attended them in the past. And part of what we did today, we will be covering there also to fill you in a little bit more about the security of your files and what's important in a file and how to take care of them. So again, thank you for attending. I look forward to you next week. And next week, I think that we've pretty much got it firmed up that we will be interviewing the owner of T-Value Software. T-Value Software is something that I recommend very highly to any note investor. It's very easy to use, and it'll give you, there's so many things that you can do with a note. There's so many things that that T-Value makes very easy to do, such as step payments, balloon payments, split payments, partial payments, doing the amortization schedules. And we are pretty sure that that we're going to be on next week with them, and we would look forward to the education that they're going to provide you. It's a very reasonably priced software that if you're in the note business, I think you ought to have. So look forward to talking to you next week. Have a good week and good investing.